Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. It has been so long. I know. I am a loser. I have been chilling, just chilling, and really just super, super busy with life, y'all. So I apologize. How are we doing? Welcome. Welcome to Rush to Judgment with Jessica. And I'm Jessica. How's it going? Welcome back. Welcome to. I am glad to see you. It's been so long. I don't even know. Couldn't even tell you how long it's been. I normally like to put out videos every day if I can, but I know it hasn't been every day. And I got super behind on this trial because turns out it went for a week and now we're on verdict watch already. And we just got through day 3, which is fine because it's kind of like you get to go through it in kind of fast forward form and then skip to the end, which is kind of the way I like it anyway. So that's how that's gonna go. So I don't know how this is gonna finish out, but we shall see. But we're gonna start it out on day 3. It also took me a minute to find day 3. It wasn't in a regular spot, but then even then, after I found it, anyway, we're working on the Alex. Is it Alex? Alexander, yeah. Alexander Jackson trial. He's on trial for the murder of his mom, dad, and younger sister. He is charged with 3 counts of first-degree homicide in those murders. He claims that someone came in and attacked them and murdered those 3, and then he fought this attacker off. And during that attack, he was shot in the foot. Now, his defense is that, it was he was attacked. Stop it. He was attacked. And don't know. We're still on day 3, which is the state. We watched the medical examiner. Yep, all 3 victims died of bullet holes. That was for sure. Other than that, we talked to police officers, first responding officers that didn't see any signs of break-in, signs of robbery, signs of anything out of the ordinary. But so that, sorry, I hit play, I hit record. So, and she knew it. It was like a ding, ding, ding went off in her head. She hasn't been in here for the last 20 minutes, but I hit record and she's like, oh, let me go bother my mother. Anyway, so that is how that has played out so far. So we're going to start out day 3. I don't recall if we left off on anybody in particular. I think we might have left off on this guy. He was a crime scene. Yeah, it was the crime scene investigator guy. That was on day 2. I'm telling you, it's been so long, I don't even know. Sorry, I apologize for that. I don't like not. I've just been so tired. I've been so tired, and I've just been bitchy, I guess. I don't know. But here we are. Okay, so let us get started. We'll just get this bigger, and we shall add these over here, and put these over here, and then we'll press the play. Let's turn this a bit. Turn the boat, turn the boat, turn the boat. Yeah. Okay. We'll fast forward a little bit to just saying anything.
Regarding the autopsy photos, Your Honor.
Oh, good. Nice ladies. Yeah. She was gone for a day. That was the big tall lady over here.
Make sure your mics are on. We're on the record. Outside the presence of the jury, we have Mr. Jackson and all counsel present. We're here to make the record on a couple things, I believe. First, at the end of the day yesterday, I believe there was an objection on the record, but related to State's Exhibit 102. And to summarize my understanding, the objection was based on the same grounds as the objection made to the autopsy photos. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor. It's the graphic nature of the photo and the prejudice that would come with that is more prejudicial than probative.
All right, Ms. Slaughter.
Similarly to the arguments I made yesterday regarding the autopsy photos, Your Honor, I think that the position of the body that it was in when found by police officers is relevant to several elements of the case that the state has to prove. I don't think that they're overly gruesome. They're definitely no worse than the autopsy pictures, and so we're resisting defendant's motion.
All right, well, we're talking about just one picture here, State's Exhibit 102. I did review the picture. Again, I think it's one part of the investigation, what happened, what was found, what was seen. I do believe it's relevant for that reason and for the other reasons indicated by the state. And for those reasons and the reasons that I already stated on the record for denying a similar motion with respect to the autopsy photos, the objection is overruled. All right. I think the state, you indicated you had something else that was not on kind of the agenda to address.
Yes, it's in regard to State's Exhibit 5, but I'm going to pass the mic to Mr. Scheer just because he's the one who discovered it.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, with regards to State's Exhibit number 5, that is the body cam video of Officer Brown that has the hospital interview. There were few portions that we had all agreed to be redacted out. When reviewing it again last night, I saw that one of the times when investigator Sarah Lacina was talking to Mr. Jackson about his heart beating too fast and out of his chest was missed. So our IT guy is now working to get those redactions out since those were made in the Your Honor's ruling and motion limit not to have those in. I just wanted to bring to attention to the court that we found those. We're working on getting those changed so that we make sure when we propose to play that portion of the interview, I know Mr. Johnson has an objection on it, that those parts have all been removed and we don't cross or violate the court's motion to limit.
All right, so just to be clear, based on objections made, I already did issue a ruling on motion limine, excluding portions of the interview of
Sound
at the hospital.
the audio sounds funny.
Yes, keep me notified, and I think that leads us logically to the last issue, which I think we maybe already addressed, but Mr. Johnson, you made a kind of a blanket objection to use of the interview. My understanding is you wanted to renew that objection.
Yes, Your Honor. And by the way, there are two separate times when Investigator Lucina makes that reference to the heartbeat, so I don't blame the state at all for missing that.
Like I said, it hasn't been played to the jury, so no
No.
harm.
No harm done. I'm just saying that I could see how that happened. With respect
Johnson,
to the videos though,
remember-
in general, and I'm talking about State's Exhibit 5, and what's the number for at the police station? Is that 153? So it would be State's Exhibit 5 and 153.
Can I just stop you? 5, we've already played. 5 has already been admitted, so, right? I mean, it was offered and admitted. So really, I think we need to be talking about two separate things. I think what was offered and admitted was not all of 5, correct?
What was offered and admitted was all of 5. There was a standing objection, my understanding, from the defense. It plays straight through, so it's just one video. So the entire disc 5 has been offered and admitted at this point, Judge.
Okay.
It
Subject
just
to
hasn't all been published.
Got it. Subject to the motion in limine, correct? So you're editing 5 already to remove out what was addressed in the motion in limine.
Correct. We are making changes to that's why we wanted to bring it up, since it had already been admitted and we're changing it.
All right. So I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Johnson.
Well, I don't think I've waived anything. I think I made my objection to the whole thing beforehand, but I just wanted to flesh out that the entirety of these two videos of the police questioning my client is one giant accusation that he is not being truthful. And they find new and different ways to attack my client's credibility by acting out how ridiculous it would be for someone to get shot in the foot under this scenario, by giving him false information, by giving him other information, and by talking about how burglaries don't happen this way. In other words, volunteering their own information is about how these crimes occur. But the entirety of these two videos is designed to attack the credibility of my client. And that's why I'm objecting, because the police know these videos will be played to the jury. So their attitude and their demeanor and the way they question people are things that the jury will take into consideration in trying to determine whether or not the defendant was telling the truth or not, which is obviously critical to our case. So we're objecting to the entirety of the remainder, not the first part. We have already said that we were fine with the video of Officer Brown, the part where he takes the defendant on the ambulance ride and gets to the hospital. What we're objecting to is the playing of the video that depicts the interrogation of my client by investigators Lucina and then the day and everything else they question him about, and also State's Exhibit 153, which is later that day back at the police station. And like I said, Your Honor had mentioned that a lot of times when the police tell somebody that they're lying, it's not admissible unless it shows some sort of change in the defendant's behavior or demeanor. Mr. Jackson does not change his version of it a bit throughout his entire questioning. It doesn't change anything, but their attacks, but they're calling him a liar. They're saying that he's lying, that he's making these things up, are relentless, and they occur throughout the entire video. And I think that would be far more prejudicial than probative. It's really no different than the actual times where they say you are lying because here's your heart rate, or you are lying because of the other things that the court's kept out. These aren't any different. The attitude of the officers and the words that they're saying are saying that he is not being truthful. And we do not believe that the jury should be allowed to see that. We could proceed on a question and answer basis with Denlinger, with Investigator Denlinger, like we used to do. The video is still there in case there's any discrepancies about what was said on different parts of it. But we could proceed with question and answer to avoid to the jury the appearance that the police officers don't believe him, because they clearly on the video do not. And that is what we're objecting to.
Ms. Slaughter?
Your Honor, the state is resisting defendant's blanket objection. We had some conversation about this prior to the record being made now regarding the probative value, the distinction between in-court testimony and the interrogation techniques or tactics. I think that it's completely relevant. The defendant's body language, his responses, what specifically is asked in the context in which all of the questions are asked during the interrogation. My understanding is that the court had already made it at minimum a preliminary ruling by asking us to redact during limine some of the issues that the defense had with this interview video. I believe what is left and remaining is appropriate, and we intend to play what's left of that interrogation subject to the court's rule, but we're asking the court to overrule and deny defendant's motion.
All right, I think my recollection is we already addressed this on the record, and I've already overruled the blanket objection. I'm doing so again. Again, no authority has been cited in support of the objection. I found none. I have excluded the specific objected to statements made by specific objections to specific portions of the video that were noted by Mr. Jackson's counsel. Again, that's all in the motion in limine and the ruling on that motion in limine. And so for those reasons articulated by the state, I am denying the blanket objection to use of videos at all. Again, I think that a lot of what Mr. Johnson is taking issue with, he can certainly address on cross-examination. Again, I found no authority for the proposition that simply can't use these videos because of interrogation techniques by law enforcement, the way that law enforcement goes about interrogating a potential suspect in a case. So, all right. Is that everything we need to address before we bring in the jury on your end, Ms. Slaughter?
On my end, yes, Judge.
Just to get organized? Yeah. Sure. I've got 9:05.
No.
Does that work for you? Yes, sir. All right. Thank you.
Oh no. Okay. Can we move along? That was so much fun.
Good morning, everyone. Go ahead and have a seat. All right, ladies and gentlemen, while you're getting situated in your notepads, and just remind you that I think when you left yesterday, we had Mr. Bosenberg on the stand. Mr. Bosenberg, we were not quite finished with direct examination. So,
Bosenberg.
I'm not going to swear you in again. I've already done that. I am going to remind you again, sir, that you are still. And with that, Ms. Slaughter, you may resume your direct examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. Investigator Bosenberg, if you would open the white binder in front of you, I just want you to give a quick look at Exhibits 61 through 97.
What are we looking at? More pictures.
Which one am I going through?
97.
97, okay.
Oh my God, you're so very slow. Are we done? Are we done? Are we done? Are we done?
Investigator Bosenberg, would it be fair to say that when processing the 4414 address, it was processed as 3 separate crime scenes?
It'd be a fair statement to say.
The
Why?
photos that you see in Exhibit
Oh, because
61
there were
through 97,
3 different.
are those photographs of the area or the crime scene, for lack of a better phrase, regarding Jan Jackson's death?
Yes.
And are those photographs, or were those photographs taken over the course of the 4-day period where the scene was being processed?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the scene as you found it?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit States Exhibits 61 through 97.
Any objection?
No objection. Is that better?
Then at this time, States Exhibits 61 through 97 are admitted. Are you
May-
requesting? Yeah, are you
May I
requesting?
have permission to publish those photos, Your Honor?
You may.
Investigator Bosenberg, may I just have 1 second, Judge?
You may.
Investigator Bosenberg, looking first at States Exhibit 61, can you tell us what we're looking at in this photograph?
Yes. So this is a picture of Jan on the ground, kind of in the what I would call like the landing area at the bottom of the stairs. We're looking down the hallway, so we would actually be facing north in the residence. The living room would be off to like our back right side in this photo.
Regarding the blood stains, seen going up and down the hallway, were you, during your investigation, able to attribute these bloodstains to anyone?
We presume that they came from Alexander.
Jackson?
Yes.
And when you were processing the scene, did it appear that those bloody footprints went in opposite directions,
Yes.
down and back?
Yes.
Did you ever find those bloody footprints past the defendant's door into Sabrina Jackson's bedroom?
No.
States Exhibit 62 is currently published. There is an evidence marker showing evidence marker number 1 in this photograph. Can you tell us what evidence marker number 1 was?
That's a cell phone.
Similarly to the question regarding the bloody footprints, did you ever in your processing of this address find bloody footprints that went up the stairs?
No.
Anywhere on that main level, did you find bloody footprints? States Exhibit 63, can you tell us?
Oh, he shot
what investigators
Dad
did that were
last.
focused on in this photograph
I
and
can't
what vantage point
speak.
it's taken?
Yeah, so 5, 6, 7, and 8 are the evidence markers noting the location of shell casings that were located. This is, again, still in the basement, right inside that entryway doorway. So we're kind of facing more in a west direction. So as you see right there, the couch is on the right, and then it's kind of an L couch. So then up and around the corner, straight ahead to the right is where Jan Jackson was located.
Do you consider the grouping of these shell casings a tighter group?
Predominantly, yes.
And when you say predominantly, why do you use that word?
6, 7, and 8 are very close together. Number 5 was not quite as bunched up. It's still in the general vicinity as the other 3.
In your experience, when emergency situations are investigated, are there times where shell casings get disturbed?
Yes.
When officers, or if you have knowledge, Investigator Rosenberg, when officers came to investigate this scene, was this a
Did they
highly
kick it?
traveled area during that?
It would have been initially while officers responding to the scene.
And so as you sit there, are you able to testify that this is exactly where those shell casings landed, or just exactly where you found them when you came to process?
These would be just where we found them when we came to process.
States Exhibit 64, what are we looking at here?
This is just a close-up photo of shell casing marked as number 5.
And 65?
Same, just an overall of number 6, 7, and 8.
66?
Again, just a closer photo of number 6 and 7 where we found them.
And number 67?
And a close-up photo of number 8.
As part of your processing of this scene, eventually were the shell casings found in 5, 6, 7, and 8 collected?
Yes.
And when you collected them, was there any
Why?
examination performed on those shell casings?
We viewed them, but no in-depth examination.
When you viewed them, were you able to determine what brand of shell casings they were?
Yes.
What was the brand?
They were stamped with the R, indicating they were Remington brand.
Is the R stamp typical for Remington brand shell casings?
Yes.
And what caliber of shell casing these?
22 caliber.
In State's Exhibit 68, can you tell us what we're looking at and from what vantage point this photograph was taken?
So this is kind of close to the same standing position as the other photos, just rotated clockwise. So now we're looking kind of into the living room at the fireplace mantle. So on the very far right side of the photo, you kind of see the doorway that leads into the basement.
From the backyard?
Correct.
And zooming in on State's Exhibit 69, is this photograph the same fireplace shown in 68?
Yes.
And there are multiple depicted in this photograph, would you agree?
Yes.
In evidence marker
Lord.
9, can you tell us what we're looking at?
Those aren't spent shell
Yes,
casing.
so, I believe our
Those
order
are
of this
just-
was number 9 is indicating the loose shell casings, and then number 10 would be indicating the Remington ammo box.
And so the
Yeah.
loose shell casings that were found on the bottom mantle of the fireplace, can you tell us what caliber those were?
They were,
And the loose shell bullets that are found on the fireplace, are those also Remington model?
yes.
Are the shells that are found on the fireplace consistent with the ammunition that would have been contained in of Exhibit 70?
Yes.
So basically those bullets came out of that box.
Yes.
In State's Exhibit 71, can you tell us what we're looking at here?
This is some paper towels that are kind of wadded up. There's some spots on there that have some like black marks on there.
Did you form an opinion or draw any conclusions as to what these paper towels or what the black marks on the paper towels, what these would have been used for?
Not conclusively, as they sit there now.
Investigator Bosenberg is a trained law enforcement officer and someone who handles firearms often. Are you ever in positions where you are responsible for cleaning firearms?
Yes.
Can you tell us in general, when you're cleaning firearms, the type of equipment or cleaning supplies that are typical that you would expect to see or use during cleaning of firearms?
Yeah, so typically during cleaning of service weapons, some type of solvent to maybe break apart some of the dirt, grime, or grease. We would have maybe some brushes. We'd also use some type of cleaning pads that are a little more heavy duty because a lot of those cleaning pads are going over some sharp corners or different areas the guns could break apart easily. So sometimes there's specific cleaning pads for firearms that we would use.
When you said brushes, can you explain to us how a brush or what type of brush would be used during cleaning?
Yeah, so typically like a plastic brush or a metal brush, depending on what you're cleaning. The brushes typically will knock away a lot of the dirt or grime on a firearm.
And all of those items, would they be used in conjunction with each other to properly clean firearms?
Yes.
Is there generally some sort of oil involved as well?
Yeah, some type of usually like a cleaning solvent or a lubricant oil.
Based on what you see in State's Exhibit 71, do you consider this a cleaning kit or items that would be used to clean a firearm?
Overruled. Witness can answer.
I'm sorry, could you restate?
May I have that question read back, Your Honor?
Oh, for God's sake, does this look like a cleaning kit to you? Oh my God.
A cleaning kit, no. Could a paper towel like that be used? Potentially would be a choice that we would use in cleaning firearms.
State's Exhibit 72 Can you tell us what we're seeing in this exhibit?
This is kind of an overall photograph, again, showing we're looking north down the hallway at Jane Jackson, kind of denoting some of the evidence items that we have marked, mainly 12, 13, and 14.
And is 17 visible in this photograph also?
Oh, yes, it is at the very top.
Moving to State's Exhibit 73, evidence marker 12, what does that show us?
This is a live 22 caliber round.
When you say live, can you tell us what you mean by that?
Yes, this one hasn't been fired at all.
My toesies are cold.
Can you tell us, Investigator Bosenberg, what it is about this item depicted in this exhibit that lets you know that this has not been fired and that it is live?
So this one still contains the bullet.
Because it hasn't been fired.
After a 22 caliber bullet is fired from
You got the thing.
firearm, that bullet's ejected and it leaves you just with an empty shell casing.
Can you tell us briefly
Still got the bullet on it.
how a bullet works?
Oh, for God's sakes, why?
So, sure, in a kind of a
We
basic
don't
sense,
need to.
use this photo as a reference. On the left, you have the actual bullet, and so the right is the casing. So inside the casing is gunpowder. These are considered rimfire cartridges, which means they're struck on the exterior rim, which is different than a centerfire one that you'd see in larger caliber where it would be struck in the middle. But there's a firing pin in the weapon that would push out a firing pin on which would be the right side of this photo.
Here?
Yes, striking that section, igniting the gunpowder, and then ejecting the bullet from the casing.
And so this conic-shaped portion of this item, is this considered the bullet?
Yes.
Once the firing pin strikes the outside of the shell casing, igniting the gunpowder or firing powder on the inside, this bullet would then leave the shell?
Yes.
And this conic-shaped bullet, that is what becomes the projectile?
Correct.
Moving on to State's Exhibit 74, there's another evidence tent or evidence marker number 13. Can you tell us what we are looking at in 13?
Yes, this is a 22 caliber shell casing sitting next to the rifle.
And based on the appearance,
Why'd you pick a 22 to shoot
Is this
and
a
kill
spent
people?
round?
Yep.
and is that, you know that because the cone-shaped bullet is missing from this?
Yes.
The projectile.
State's Exhibit 75,
Yeesh.
what is being captured by evidence marker 14?
Number 14 is denoting the rifle.
Did you have an opportunity to examine this rifle?
Yes, I did.
And we'll talk about it in more detail later, but on its basic level, what caliber rifle was this? What was the make, model, size?
It was a 22 caliber Browning rifle.
And being 22
That's a baby
caliber,
gun.
is this weapon equipped to fire the type of Remington bullets that were found throughout the home?
Yes.
State's Exhibit 76, what is this photograph focusing on?
Mainly number 15 and slightly number 16.
And in State's Exhibit 15, what are we seeing? Excuse me, State's Exhibit 77.
Oh my
evidence marker
gosh.
15, what are we seeing?
Those are
This is
his
another
daddy's
spent
dead
22 shell
toes.
casing.
And in State's Exhibit 78, showing evidence tent 16, what are we looking at?
16 is also a spent 22 shell casing.
On Exhibit 79, can you tell us what we're focusing on?
Yeah, so this one's just kind of an overall photo showing the number 17, which is actually a bullet hole in the wall, which is kind of directly above number 17 and slightly to the left.
In State's Exhibit 80, does that bullet hole become more visible?
Yes, it does.
And in State's Exhibit 81, what are we seeing in this photograph?
This is a close-up of that same bullet hole.
When you found this bullet hole in the wall, did your investigation into this bullet hole stop at just photographing the hole as is?
No.
Can you tell us what else you did?
Yes, so in order to get a more accurate flight path of how that bullet encountered that wall. We actually cut a section of the drywall just to the right of the bullet hole to see where the bullet went into the wall at.
And when you say flight path, what do you mean by flight path?
So when a bullet hits, let's say a drywall for this example, there's an angle that that bullet had entered any type of surface that it might hit. Sometimes we're able to put like what we would call a trajectory rod through those bullet holes to kind of line up where that bullet originated from to kind of show its approximate flight path and where it was fired from.
When you cut out the portion of the drywall that you're referring to, did you find a bullet inside the wall?
We found, so the bullet had actually entered some of the wood framing inside the wall. So we found where it was at, but we didn't recover it out of the wood.
And related to this bullet hole, did you use those trajectory rods to determine flight path?
Yes.
And based on using that trajectory rod, did you form an opinion as to the flight path or where that shot came from?
It came from downstairs.
So
It came from inside the house.
Gathered from looking at this was in the direction of where the shell casings were located at behind the couch.
So where 5, 6, 7, and 8 were?
Correct.
No, 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 no. Oh, nah, nah. What's my name? Oh, nah, nah. I have a headache.
In State's Exhibit 82, can you tell us what we're seeing here?
Yes, this is a side view of that
Door?
entry door in the basement. That's
It is not broken into.
in the basement.
Can you tell us why you photographed this door?
They probably,
Just
though.
kind of documenting
Well, the front door
current
was
state of the
locked.
door and
I would
any
say they probably left their doors unlocked, but
damages
the
or
front
lack of
door was
damages to the door,
locked.
just kind of an overall documentation photo of the door.
And what was your opinion of the current state of the door?
The door appeared to be in like a normal working order and fashion to me.
Have you processed crime scenes where doors have been kicked in
Yes.
multiple times?
Oh, God.
Can you tell us what type of damage you would expect to see on a door that had been...
A broken frame.
Yeah, so a lot of times on a door that might be kicked open,
Oh,
you'll
God.
see maybe some type of denting on the side that was
Splintered
affected by,
frame.
the kick, maybe some scuff marks from whatever would have kicked it. And then if the door was in a closed position, a lot of times you'll see the latch is actually broken or not aligned properly as how it should be. And typically sometimes framing is broken or damaged.
The framing around the door.
Correct. Yeah, I guess either on the door itself or the framing around the door.
Have you had an opportunity in your career in processing scenes to observe doors that have been pried open?
Yes.
And can you, when I use the word pried, can you describe what I mean by that?
Yeah, typically, like you might use a pry bar to pry open a door, and then you would see a lot of like indentation or pry marks around typically the latch where you would apply that force.
Like, this is a part of trials that I really, really hate is like explaining the mundane, dumb shit.
Based on your training and experience, Investigator Bosenberg, did you form an opinion as to whether or not there were any signs of forced entry to this back door?
I did not see any of those signs on this door.
The back door was not the only point of entry or exit from this home, correct?
Correct.
During your investigation, did you happen to observe the other doors to the residence?
Yes.
Did you, on any of the entrance exit doors to the residence, observe any signs of forced entry?
No.
Did you also, during your investigation of this home, go through and make observations related to the windows?
Yes.
When reviewing the windows or looking at the windows, was there any sign of forced entry on any of the windows?
No.
Investigator Bosenberg, anywhere in the house, was there any sign or anything that indicated to you that entry into this home was forced in any way?
No.
State's Exhibit 83, is this the same door that we see in 82?
Yes.
There is no break-in.
What were you
Done.
attempting to capture in this photograph?
This is just a different angle, covering more of the inside portion of the door.
And again, no damage seen in this photograph?
No.
No damage is found?
Sorry. Yeah, no damage.
I'm going to show you a series of photos beginning with State's Exhibit 84, and intentionally I'm going to go through them in a more rapid succession.
Oh, goody.
In State's Exhibits 84 through
Looks so much smaller
93, is
than in the
there a man depicted in those
Zulu
photographs?
pictures.
Yes.
And is that man you?
Yes.
Can you tell us who was taking the photographs?
Investigator Hardin was taking these photographs.
And can you explain or describe the location from which she's taking those photos?
So she is behind the L-shaped couch in the same area where the shell casings were located.
Can you tell us, Investigator Bosenberg, or describe to us the purpose between taking this series of photographs?
Yes, so with the shell casings being located behind the couch and the trajectory rod kind of pointing in that same general direction, in the location that we found Jan Jackson, we want to kind of show maybe a vantage point of what the view might have been like from behind the couch to a person walking down the stairs.
As you walked down the stairs, was there a period where coming down the stairs you were unable to see the vantage point behind the couch?
Yes.
Do you recall approximately how many steps coming down the stairs it took before you were able to see that vantage point?
I want to say I was on approximately the fourth stair, plus or minus, where my head popped below like the framing and was able to like visibly see the couch area behind the couch.
Looking at State's Exhibit 94, similarly, were there photographs taken coming down the stairs?
Yes.
And coming down the stairs, do you recall approximately where Investigator Hardin held her camera?
I don't.
What does this matter?
We have mirrorless cameras, so we typically will look at the display screen instead of looking through the viewfinder of the camera.
Exhibits 94 through 97.
So he's standing all the way
are
over
those
there,
photographs
waiting for Daddy to come down the stairs.
Yes, these are the photos that Investigator Hardin
And
took
shot him
downstairs.
with a 22
And the
all the
man
way
depicted
from
in
over
those
there.
photographs on the other side of the couch, is that you?
Yes.
And are you standing in the approximate location of where you found the shell casings, CRPD evidence 5, 6, 7, and 8?
Yes.
And is that the location in which the trajectory rod from evidence marker 17, the hole in the wall, pointed?
Yes.
So how did he get upstairs, shoot Mom
Investigator Bosenberg,
in the
if you can
face?
flip now and look at State's Exhibits 98 through 102.
Twice. What was he chasing him? Have you seen him? Did he shoot Sister first and nobody heard? Like which was it? Because I'm leaning more towards an intruder, and he was asleep on the porch. Because he didn't look like a very athletic young man at the time of this all happening.
Okay.
Investigator Bosenberg, after having had an opportunity to look at Exhibits 98 through 102, do you recognize those photos?
Yes.
Are those photos pictures that were taken of the scene in the bedroom of Sabrina Jackson?
Yes.
And were they taken over the duration of the 4-day period where you and Investigator Hardin were there and processed the scene?
Yes.
And do they fairly and accurately depict the scene as you found it?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit Exhibits 98 through 102.
Mr. Johnson, you're over there now, but that's fine. All right. At this time, then, State's Exhibits 98 through 102 are admitted.
And may I have permission to publish those exhibits?
You may. You can maybe speed this up. I'm assuming you're going to want to publish all of your exhibits after they're admitted?
I am, Judge.
All right. We'll just move to that directly.
Investigator Bosenberg, looking first at Exhibit 98, can you tell us from what vantage point this photograph is taken?
Yes, from the entryway to Sabrina's room, we'd be facing east.
Was there anything specific in this photograph that you were attempting to capture?
It's kind of a general overall photo, but we do have an evidence marker, number 19.
And evidence 19, would you agree, is kind of seen dead center in the photograph?
Yes.
Looking at State's Exhibit 99, can you tell us what this photograph is?
This is a close-up of number 19, which is a spent shell casing.
Iron
Initially,
Giant.
Investigator Bosenberg, when you went in and took photographs in this bedroom, how many shell casings did you find initially?
Our initial search resulted in 1.
And when you found that shell casing, had you at that time also had an opportunity to view Sabrina Jackson's body in the state that it was laying in the bed?
Yes.
Initially, how many times did you believe, based on the shell casing and the injury that you saw, did you believe that Sabrina Jackson had been shot?
Yes, so prior to any manipulation of the scene, we just noted 1 gunshot wound.
And the visible gunshot wound that you saw was to what part of her body?
Her left eye.
Damn.
During the processing of the scene, does there come a point where
It's a magic trick.
Oh my gosh.
the decedent's bodies are removed from the scene?
Yes.
After Sabrina Jackson's body was removed from this bedroom, did you find anything additional?
Yes.
And can you tell us,
What was
looking at
it?
State's Exhibit 100, what you are focusing on?
This is again from that same vantage point, but highlighting item number 37.
In this photograph, it appears that the bedding and Sabrina Jackson have been removed. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Zooming in on evidence tent 37 and State's Exhibit 101, is this a shell casing?
Yes.
And would you consider this a spent round?
Yes.
Can you account for how that shell casing got there?
No.
Is it possible that when the body was moved, it could have fallen out of the bedding?
It could be a possibility, yes.
Would you agree that the first day that you processed this bedroom, that there was no shell casing behind that teddy bear?
Correct.
So somewhere during the period or during the time when things were being moved and the body was being removed, the other shell casing was there?
Yes, at some point through that process.
Moving on then to State's Exhibit 102. Can you tell us what we are focusing on in this photograph, Investigator Bosenberg?
This is Sabrina Jackson laying in her bed as we found her.
There is also an evidence tent in the top portion of this exhibit. Can you tell us what that tent 2 depicted?
Yes, that would be her cell phone.
If you would look at the photographs in the binder 103 through 116.
Okay.
Do you recognize the photos in those exhibits? Do you recognize those photos as photographs that were taken during the processing of the master bedroom?
Yes.
La 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 la. Can I fast forward? Is anybody gonna be mad? Because she's gonna do just the same thing.
Photographs that are taken
Oh, good God
at
Almighty!
the scene or the
Good
position
God
of the bedroom.
Almighty!
Yes.
May I
How
publish?
much longer
Oh,
do we have?
I ask those to be edited.
Oh,
Objection
good God!
accepted. All right.
Oh, I don't have that much longer with
Evidence
him.
Exhibits 103 103 through 116 are admitted.
Thank you.
Oh my God, he comes back after break.
Bosenberg, in State's Exhibit 103, can you?
Oh
This
God,
photograph is being taken.
he's here for
We're
so
looking inside
long.
of the master bedroom from the hallway.
And the railing or banister to the right.
Oh my God,
Tell us what's
he's
on the
here
other
all
side of this
day.
railing or
This is
banister.
all him all day.
To the right of that would be the stairway to the basement.
So just at the top of the stairs.
It's him all day.
In exhibits, well,
Oh no,
zooming
it's
in
just
on
another
State's
bald
Exhibit
guy.
104, what are we looking at here?
This is a
He doesn't end
25, which were all 22
until like the end of the
showcases.
day. Oh dear God. Dear God.
State's Exhibit 105, what are we seeing?
Close up of 22.
Exhibit 106.
Cases 24 and 25.
Can you tell us, Investigator Bosenberg, did you have an opportunity to observe those spent shell casings?
Yes.
Similarly, did you have an opportunity to observe the 2 spent shell casings you found in Sabrina Jackson's bedroom?
Yes.
Speaking first of the shell casings found in Sabrina Jackson's bedroom, were you able to determine what type of shell casing they were
They were also
There were 22.
Remington R.
and the caliber?
22.
Were the shell casings found in Sabrina
Genius.
Jackson's bedroom consistent with the shell casings you found behind the couch in the downstairs living room?
Yes.
And consistent with the shell casings and the bullet found around Jan Jackson's body?
Yes.
Consistent with the bullets found on the fireplace?
Yes.
The shell casings seen so far in exhibits 104, 105, 106 from the master bedroom, are those also Remington model shell casings?
Yes.
Were they also 22 caliber?
Yes.
And were these consistent with the shell casings found in Sabrina Jackson's bedroom?
Yes.
And all of the shell casings found in the living room?
Yes.
Downstairs living room, I apologize.
Yes.
And consistent with the non-fired rounds by Jan Jackson's body and on the fireplace?
Yes.
In State's Exhibit 107, can you tell us what we are seeing in this photograph?
Yes, this is a kind of an overall photograph of where we found Melissa Jackson, and then also item number 26, and then on the top you can also see item number 3.
Starting first with item number 3, what is that tent depicting?
That is a cell phone.
And in item 26, what are we seeing in this photograph?
This is just a closer up photo of number 26, which is a 22 caliber shell casing.
Just to be clear, when you're looking at the tent marker number 26, there's some specs on that. Would you agree?
That is correct.
Would you agree that those specs have nothing to do with this crime scene? It's just your tent marker stained?
Yes, that was painted on there at some other time. That's a
The shell casing seen in Exhibit 108 marked as 26, is that also a 22 Remington shell casing?
yes.
In State's Exhibit 109, can you tell us what we're viewing in this photograph?
Yeah, this is the bed in that master bedroom, kind of showing the pillows, and we also have some green stickers on this photo, notating where some bullet holes were.
I don't know what color this, cream-colored pillow I'm circling, is that the same pillow shown in State's Exhibit 10?
Yes.
And the green ruler sticker used, is that to measure this hole?
Yes.
Did you form an opinion as to the cause of this hole?
Presume the cause was from the fired 22 caliber rounds.
So it's a bullet hole?
Yes.
And Ms. Slaughter, just so we're clear for the record, I think you said State's Exhibit 10. Did you mean 110?
I definitely mean 110. I'm not sure what I said. All right. Thank you, Your Honor. In State's Exhibit 111, what are we looking at in this photograph?
This one's a little harder to see, but that again is what we denote as a bullet hole through the pillow cover.
And this large black item seen in 111, is that the same large black pillow up against the headboard in Exhibit 109?
Yes.
The body pillow. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
There are 3 green stickers on this pillow, is that correct?
Yes.
On this black pillow, does each of those green stickers
In the
designate a
floor.
bullet hole?
Yes.
Oh shit.
And in State's Exhibit 113, what are we looking at?
We're looking at holes in the headboard of the bed.
And this headboard, would that be directly behind that large black pillow.
Yes.
Can you describe for us what is seen and shown or demonstrated in State's Exhibit 114?
Yes, we put some wooden rods through those bullet holes to show the approximate flight path of the bullets that contacted the headboard.
That is top of the line
Those rods in the headboard.
policing right there.
Tell us first, did you form an opinion as to the directionality that those bullets came from?
Yes.
And where was that location?
From closer to the bedroom doorway, kind of in the location where the shell casings were located.
That initial group.
Yes.
State's Exhibit 15, can you tell us first what room we're in the house?
We're now in the living room.
What the hell is happening with the TV
On the primary floor.
in the entertainment
What
center?
are we looking at in State's Exhibit 15?
What kind
These
of
photos
stuff
showing
is
the
that?
location of those 3 holes that we saw on the headboard. They'd come through the drywall on the opposite side. So the headboard sits
Stop it.
on the opposite side of this wall that we're looking at.
And Exhibit 16,
Oh.
116, does that zoom in on this area of 115 that I'm circling with my cursor?
Yes.
Item sticking out of one of the holes, is that one of those wooden rods you referred to?
Yeah, that's one of our metal trajectory rods.
Will you, Investigator Bosenberg, open that book up and look at 117 and 118 of State's Exhibits?
Okay.
Do you recognize the image depicted?
Yes.
And can you tell us briefly what that image is?
This is a Costco the Hearing Aid Center appointment card for Melissa.
Was that appointment card found during processing of evidence at this address?
Yes.
And are those 2 images fair and accurate depictions of that appointment card?
Yes.
Your Honor, the state would move to admit State's Exhibits 117 and 118.
Mr. Johnson, any objection? All right, then State's Exhibits
No, Your
117
Honor.
and 118 are admitted, and you may go ahead and publish.
Investigator Bosenberg, the State's Exhibit 117, is that the front of that appointment card that you referenced?
Yes.
And in 118, is that the back of it?
Yes.
On the back of that appointment card, as shown in Exhibit 118, whose appointment card is that?
Melissa.
Well, I think it's fucking
Whose date was that
Melissa's.
appointment scheduled
June 15th,
and the time.
10 a.m.
And so, can you tell us, I don't know if you said this, but will you tell us where this appointment was for?
Oh,
For the Costco Hearing Aid Center.
catty cat. Oh, God. Oh, Mommy couldn't hear well.
Investigator Bosenberg, based on your training and experience, is it typical to see shell casings grouped as tightly as they are in the master bedroom?
I suppose
Stop.
it depends on the type of firearm that we're
Damn
firing
it.
the gun or the casings.
Mm-mm. Mm-mm.
When you say depends on the type of firearm, tell me why you say that.
So in this particular rifle ejects the casings in a downward motion. A lot of, I would say the majority of firearms eject casings to the right side of the firearm. Some are upwards to the right or to the right. This particular one fires them in a downward motion.
And so when you say most firearms eject them to the right, is it also true that most firearms eject from the top of the weapon?
The top or the side. Some rifles will eject straight to the right. Some are kind of at an upward angle.
And you've shot, well, how many? Have you shot a lot of guns
Yes.
of all types?
Yes.
Handguns,
No, just one time.
Yes.
revolvers,
Just
Not as many revolvers.
rifles,
Yes.
shotguns.
Yes.
hair, cat. Her cat hair.
Typically, when
Oh.
firing a top or side ejecting weapon, have you seen the ejected shell casings be dispersed sometimes several feet away from one another?
Yes.
Will you flip back into that binder and give a look at what's previously been marked as States Exhibits 119, 120, 121?
I feel that like that lady in the back. Like, lady, I'm gonna fall asleep too. I feel you.
Yes,
You recognize those photographs?
I do.
Were they also taken during the processing of 4414 Oak Leaf Court Northeast?
Yes.
And what room were those photographs taken in?
These are in Alexander Jackson's bedroom.
They fairly and accurately depict what you found in that bedroom?
Yes.
Your Honor, state moves to have exhibits 119, 120, and 121 admitted.
Mr. Johnston, any objection? All right, no objection. The state's exhibits 119, 120, and 121 are admitted, and you may publish.
Thank you, Judge.
Lights. Set the mood.
Investigator Bosenberg, looking at State's Exhibit 119, can you tell us the vantage point from which this photograph was taken?
Yes, this photo was taken just inside the doorway of Alexander Jackson's bedroom, kind of showing the floor, specifically like item number 18.
And can you tell us, in relation to Sabrina Jackson's bedroom, where this bedroom is?
Yes, so
Right
Sabrina
next
Jackson's
door.
bedroom is, in this photo would be to the left. So there's the desk we're looking at on the left side of the photo. Then there's a wall, and then on the other side of that wall is Sabrina's room.
And in this photograph, you have evidence tent 18, is that correct?
Yes.
Looking at State's Exhibit 120,
Try to make a
zoomed in photograph of
belt.
evidence tent 18.
Yes.
What are we looking at here?
This is a belt.
Was there a reason that a photograph of this belt was taken?
Yes.
What was that reason?
Alexander had mentioned that he had used this belt as like a tourniquet in his bedroom.
And looking at State's Exhibit 121, can you tell us what we're seeing in this photo?
This is the belt clasp to the belt.
And this stain, how would you describe this stain below the belt clasp?
Probably blood.
Blood with a kind of a footprint impression.
The hell? What? Why are we doing that?
The same exhibit, but zoomed in. Do you see red markings on this bottom bed spring?
Yes.
On the sheet?
Yes.
And on the wheel of the frame?
Yes.
Do you see dark markings on the other portions of the frame?
Yes.
And during your investigation, were you able to determine what those dark markings are?
They appear to be blood to us.
The clasp that you referred to, is that this silver object that I'm circling?
Was he sitting on the edge of his
So
bed
that
when he
clasp came
shot
from the
himself
belt
in the
shown
foot?
in the previous exhibit?
Yes.
Oh, the dogs are barking.
The firearm that was seen laying next to Jan Jackson, if I recall your testimony, you said that it was a .22 caliber Browning rifle.
Yes.
What does Browning mean?
That's the manufacturer of the rifle.
La 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 la. Ooh.
The rifle that was next to Jan Jackson, was that collected as evidence?
Yes.
No, just
When I
left
say
it
collected,
there.
can you describe what I mean by collected?
So
Sorry.
originally it was photographed in place, and then we eventually packaged it in some packaging material to transport back to the station for further processing.
And so you actually take it from the scene?
Yes.
And do what with it? Oh my god. Oh no! There you go.
And where do you recognize this rifle from?
That would be the rifle that we collected from the scene.
The rifle that was laying next to Jan Jackson?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit Exhibit 155 into evidence.
Any objection, Mr. Johnson? All right, without objection, then State's Exhibit 155 is admitted.
Your Honor, do you have any objection to me leaving 155 with investigators?
I do not.
I do.
Looking also at the exhibits in the binder marked 122 through 129, do you recognize those?
Do you? Probably. Because he was there when they were taken.
I do.
The photographs in those exhibits are, what are they?
They're photographs that I would have taken at our crime scene lab.
And are those photographs photos that are taken of the firearm next to you?
Yes.
Are the photographs fair and accurate depictions of that firearm?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to admit exhibits 122 through 129.
Any objection? All right, then State's Exhibits 122 through 129 are now admitted, and you may publish.
Investigator Bosenberg, based on the processing of this firearm that you did, were you able to conclude whether or not the firearm shown in these photographs and in Exhibit 155 was the firearm that killed Jan, Melissa, and Sabrina Jackson?
You may. You want to come over, though, and please do that.
Turn your mic on.
The microphone.
Yeah. Johnson, turn your microphone on.
Good morning, Mr. Bosenberg.
Good morning.
You are not a trained person in firearms identification, are you?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
You've received no training in firearms identification. have you?
Come again?
I guess when you say like identification, like of, what would you be referring to?
Like looking at a weapon that's been fired, looking at the shell casing and making a comparison between the casing and whether or not it came from a certain gun. You don't do that, right?
We would do a triage of that, but not like an in-depth analysis.
Right. That's not your job, right?
No.
You have people at the DCI, the Iowa Department of Criminal Investigation, whose job that is, correct?
Yes, the DCI does have, like trained firearms examiners.
And one of them would be Mr. Murillo, is that right?
Correct.
And what's his first name?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Okay, but there are experts at the Department of Criminal Investigation in Iowa whose job it is to compare ammunition that's been fired or shell casings with weapons, correct?
Yes.
Scientifically, right?
Yes.
And make a determination that shell casing came from that weapon.
Yes.
You are not that guy.
You are not that
I would
guy.
object to this witness giving an opinion as to whether or not this gun was the same gun that fired the ammunition found at the scene.
On the existing record, I'm going to sustain that objection. Go ahead, Ms. Slaughter.
Investigator Bosenberg, can you tell us what NIBIN is?
Yes, NIBIN is the National Integrated Ballistic Identification Network. It's a program by the ATF that Cedar Rapids has adopted, that the police department has adopted around 2020.
When you say it's a program that was adopted, what is that program designed to do?
So that program is intended to be able to, let me back up. The program deals with shell casings. So when a shell casing, or when a bullet fires a casing, it ejects the casing, the firing pin leaves a mark on the shell casing. So NIBIN through the ATF is a database where all these shell casings are entered into, and then they're searched within the system to help find potential matches to other potential shell casings. And we also test fire guns. And then when we test fire a gun, we take the shell casing from our known test fire and also put that in the database for the database to match up, link, correlate handguns with shell casings or rifles with shell casings.
So generally, if you go to a crime scene and there are shell casings left at the crime scene, do you then take images and enter images of the shell casing into the NIBIN database?
Yes, we will pick like one casing from a representative sample to represent a sample and put that one shell casing into the database.
And when you say one shell casing from a representative sample, if in that crime scene 10 bullets or 10 shell casings were laying there, you would confirm that they were fired from the same weapon and only put one in, right?
So yeah, we would look at the shell casings, and there's a few different factors we would look at. We would, number one, look at kind of the branding. Were they all the same brand? Obviously, caliber is a huge indication because a gun will typically only fire one caliber of bullet. So we'll kind of group them. If you have multiple different calibers, then that's an indication that you might have multiple guns. So we'll kind of do a triage on some of those different factors, and then once we have groupings of potential piles of guns, then we will put one from each set into the database.
And the shell casings that you enter into the database are ran against shell casings from where?
So our database is the whole kind of like Midwestern area, Iowa, Illinois, Nebraska is our database. So all the casings of departments that use the NIBIN program are ran against that set of data.
And you mentioned a firing pin impression that's left on a shell casing. Can you explain to us what a firing pin impression is?
Sure. So can we talk about earlier, the firing pin from like a
Divot.
rifle would press into the backside of the casing, leaving an indentation in the metal, which ignites the process of firing the bullet. And then on semi-automatic firearms, the bullet gets extracted. So that process also leaves some markings on the metal that the ATF has
It hurts.
studied and uses in their algorithm to try to link up casings from different areas.
Are there other marks on the shell casing that are examined or looked at when looking for confirmatory results or matching shell casings?
So typically in like a casing, you would look kind of at three different key characteristics. You look at the firing pin impression, the breech face markings, which is what just the whole flat surface of that firing pin area. And then we would also look for kind of ejector markings, but you don't see those in the NIBIN database the extractor. You have extractors and ejectors. So in a semi-automatic weapon, once that firing pin has dented the metal and shoots out the bullet, there's another piece of metal. Well, the gun starts moving back to eject it, and there's usually a piece of metal on the side. So when that casing's coming back, it hits that metal, and when it hits that metal, that's what ejects it out of the firearm. So on semi-automatics, you'll usually have another impression, which is called the ejector mark. And then there's also a third one, the extractor mark, which is on the side of the casing, is what actually grabs the casing, pulls it back to hit the ejector to eject it out of the firearm.
In a situation where you have been to a crime scene and are actually able to recover the weapon, do you generally, and I'll talk more about it in detail, but do you generally test fire that weapon?
Yes.
When you test firing that weapon, are you also collecting shell casings that would be ejected during the test fire?
Yes.
Was one of your responsibilities when you would process evidence as part of the crime scene unit to compare firing pin impressions from shells that were recovered from a scene to firing pin impressions from your known firearm?
Yeah, we will typically look at all the shell casings.
In this specific case, did you
This
compare
specific
shell casings
case.
from the crime scene to shell casings from your test fire?
They were viewed. We tried to handle these casings as minimally as possible. And again, while viewing them, we kind of grouped them in one group because they were all the same brand. They were all 22 caliber Remington shell casings. They all had the same shape of a firing pin impression. It's a rim fire, which means that the impression's on the side of the rim of the casing. There's a few different shapes that you can have in the 22 caliber rim fire world. These all had the same style of shape on like the breech face or the firing pin area.
So when a firing pin strikes the breech face of the shell casing, it can leave different shapes.
Yes, based on the shape of the firing pin.
Some are elliptical,
Yes.
some are round.
Yes.
What other shapes are you?
What shape is elliptical?
Sometimes in the rim fires, you'll have more of a square impression that is left. But yeah, you'll have like a square impression or a
And did
oval.
I apologize. Did you have an opportunity to view firing pin impressions on the shells that were recovered from the scene and the shells that
Test
were recovered
fire.
from your test fire?
Yes.
Were they the
Based on that, did you
same?
form an opinion as to whether or not those firing pin impressions were the same?
Your Honor, I make the same objection at this time. And if I may voir dire the witness again very briefly.
You may.
Oh,
Thank you.
Jesus.
Mr. Bosenberg.
He's not an
you submitted
expert.
To NIBIN. Did they generate a report then?
They do.
Right. And did you do that, or did Investigator Harden do that?
I am not sure. I believe she might have done the submission on this one, but I would have to check the report to.
And have you had an opportunity prior to your testimony today to review that report from NIBIN?
I did review it, yes.
All right. And you feel like you are competent to interpret that information from NIBIN?
I can interpret what the report says.
All right. And you have a copy of that report, do you not?
Yes, I do.
All right. Thank you, Your Honor. I withdraw my objection.
All right, then, do we need the question read back at this point?
Please.
Were they the same?
Yes, they all had the same. They looked similar, had similar characteristics.
And based on.
They had similar
Investigation, you formed an opinion as to
characteristics.
Whether or not the firearm seen in Exhibit 155 was the firearm used in the deaths of Sabrina, Melissa, and Jan Jackson.
Same objection, Your Honor, as to the same firearm. The witnesses stated that they had similar characteristics.
The objection's overruled. You can answer the question.
Yes.
And what's your opinion? Is that the gun that killed those 3 people?
Yes.
It's similar characteristics. He
Ladies and
didn't
gentlemen,
say
it's,
it was the
about
same.
10:30. So I think this is a good time to take our mid-morning break. So we'll resume again at about 10:45.
Okay. Well, he's going to keep talking. He's talking all day. Okay. So we're here for the long haul with this young feller. But I gotta go do other things for a second, and then I'll be back to continue. But until then, I shall see you in the next one. I don't really have a whole lot to say on this one. This was what it was. Ugh. Are those lights on? These lights just come on whenever they feel like it. I don't even know. You do what you want. They do what they want. I don't even know. Oh, I can't reach those, turn those off no more. So they just turn on and off whenever they want. Oh, God. Okay. Yeah. I don't know. Like, everything, the more trials I watch, the more I find myself just second guessing everything that these people put in front of me. That's all. That's all I do. I just second guess everything these people put in front of me. Like, give me something concrete to work with here. 'Cause you're not. I don't have nothing substantial. Give me some grittiness. Give me a confession. Shit. A confession that you didn't, like, renege on. Is that a word? I don't know what that means. I mean, I know what it means, like, didn't take back. Is that an offensive word? I don't know. Anyway. Oh, well. Tell me a word. Give me a trial that is just like, hey, this is what happened. So, I mean, I like having the question, but I want it to be fair too. Like, I want you to be, I don't like when people are trying to play dirty and trying to put somebody in prison for something that they didn't. If you don't know that they did it, don't try to put them in prison. Do the work. These cops didn't do the work, then that's not fair. I don't know. Okay, I gotta go tuck my baby in, and then I'll be back to do some more. Hopefully, maybe. If not, I'll see you on another day. All right. Peace.